And we're certainly happy to be here as well today, although the 4 to 6 time slot may prove a little challenging, but something tells me that it's not going to dissuade the feedback and the discussion and such with this group. So I'm Mike Caponen. I'm the Director of Business Development at NexGen Storage, and with me today is Kelly Long, our co-founder and CTO. I know Kelly has been here a number of times, and then George Wagner, who is our Senior Product Marketing Manager. So we're going to kind of divide up the duties today, and we'll all participate in the discussion and Q&A and such as well. So what we're going to take and start off with is a discussion around flash storage trends. And we truly do want this to be a discussion, because we're going to kind of tee up the next gen view on what's going on in the marketplace, both from a kind of a market and competitive standpoint, as well as from a technology standpoint. So I'll start off, and cover the market trends part, and then Kelly, appropriately enough, will cover the technology part of it as the CTO, because we wouldn't want to be doing the reverse. Okay. So first off, I'm going to take and talk about flash pricing, kind of what's going on, what we see going on in the marketplace, and I'm going to talk about it, at 3 different levels. We're going to talk about the NAND, chip component pricing. Then we're going to talk about it at the device level, PCIe, flash, SSD, etc. And then we're going to talk about it at a systems level. So what you see on this slide on the left, is information from Jim Handy's post on SSD review, from the Flash Summit recently. And then the information on the right of this, just to be clear, is NexGen storage information, from our suppliers, and kind of looking at the market and such. So when you look at the left, what it shows is this slow decline in NAND pricing. There's a drop from 2011 to 2015 from $1 per gig to 25 cents a gig. And this year, a decline of 11%, so far in 2015. And it's expected to, stabilize a bit until 3D NAND comes out. And then there's projected to be a collapse, in pricing again after 2017. So you kind of see this slow, would you guys agree, kind of expected decline, in NAND pricing over this time frame. Then when you go look at NAND device costs, again like PCIe flash cards and SSDs, etc., our data shows that there's been a 21% drop, so far in 2015. So, a little bit more aggressive price drop from a device standpoint, to the point where you see stuff like CMLC with kind of new software capabilities that array vendors are implementing to increase endurance, showing up more, in enterprise deployments, of flash systems. And then you see people doing things in terms of error detection and correction and buffering and things like that to take and optimize the flash data path. Again, the cost drop and some of these things kind of resulting in seeing more flash system deployments kind of moving into the enterprise space. And even with the price declines, even to the point that we're seeing flash systems used for archive, less active type of data, along with the real active data sets that people have been deploying flash systems for since they first started to come to market. So now it gets interesting. We kind of look at this from a flash systems pricing standpoint. Okay. So kind of back to this, slow decline in NAND pricing, more rapid decline in device. But what we've seen, and this is based upon looking at data from deals, customer deals, purchasing situations going on out there, we've seen massive declines in systems pricing. like to the tune of 50, 60% off normal pricing, kind of led by the big guys. And that's probably not surprising either from the standpoint of the big suppliers. You have got great volume purchasing power across their storage product lines, their server product lines, networking, etc. for sourcing NAND and NAND devices at really low prices, and they're using that volume purchasing power to take in get super aggressive fast Eddie type pricing on systems to be competitive in the marketplace. So why do we see this happening? And again, this is NexGen's opinion, and you can agree, disagree, or somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, depending upon your experiences. We see the big guys doing this to take and preserve their market share positions. There's been $6 billion of VC investment that's come into about 70 storage companies since 2007. And so customers typically look to kind of the new entrants in the market, the startups and such, for sort of the next generation innovations in storage technology and storage systems. And so it's got customers have started to look at those companies, particularly now, as flash and flash arrays and innovation in flash arrays have come on the scene, the last 3-4 years or so. And given that the bigger guys have got architectures that were done 10-12 years ago, and there's less kind of from the ground up designs in those companies from a flash storage standpoint, they're kind of using that volume purchasing advantage to take and drive prices down rapidly and use that as a way to take and preserve their market share. So kind of where does this all go next then, from a landscape standpoint? And this is kind of looking at things from an all-flash array standpoint. So we see purchase decisions and analysis and whatnot being made today kind of on the dimensions of, hey, do I need a all-flash array? Do I need a hybrid array? Kind of what's the architecture of the array? Do I put flash in my server, based upon the problems I've got with my workloads and the type of workloads I've got, or is shared flash sufficient in a network storage system? What are my considerations with the type of flash? Is it SLC, MLC, TLC, etc.? And then what are the software features around it? So there's a lot of considerations and purchase decisions analysis being made kind of along those lines. And we believe it's going to kind of because of the price drops, the capacity increases of flash, that going forward, the considerations are going to be more around how can I take and consolidate more, of my workloads, on flash arrays, because the pricing is there, the capacities are there, such that okay, now I can take and get rid of more islands of storage, consolidate it onto a smaller number, simplify my management, etc., because the price and the capabilities are there.
Hey, Mike, don't you think the reduction in system price is somewhat associated with not with just the reduction in NAND storage, but the deduplication, compression, all those data reduction technologies that have been brought to bear on some of those products?
Right. Yeah, that does also contribute to decreasing the effective cost of the overall system. Yeah. But it's interesting when you look then at the what's going to happen to to NAND and flash device pricing, as that continues to go down, the overall value of those things may get diminished, as the price of the media, continues to come down too. So while it may have, higher value today, the relative value of it could go down in the future.
Well, and it was like filling drives with helium so you can stick another platter in. Mm-hmm. It's a one-time trick.
Right.
So yep, we got a price reduction by adding dedupe, but there isn't a follow-on.
A lot of these guys are introducing inline versus post-processing dedupe or compression, and there's different levels of reduction.
But it's made, it's table stakes now.
Yeah.
We got that bump, but now it's just part of what we got. Not to mention that post-process dedupe for primary storage is the stupidest thing I've heard of in years.
So, yeah. I missed that one. What was that?
How does he really feel about it?
So from an all-flash standpoint, kind of because of, this, massive decrease in pricing, and kind of what some vendors can do, from a purchasing volume standpoint, we see kind of the all-flash market then kind of segmenting into these two categories. Call it commodity all-flash arrays. They're all about the cheapest cheapest flash array possible. Not feature rich from a software standpoint. Not say utilizing kind of the latest flash technology, because it's going to start out higher price before it comes down, and then not a lot of advanced features around performance management, system administration, things of that nature. But because of the customer's desire to take and consolidate more, on flash systems, it's going to be like Egg McMuffins. Flash systems aren't going to be just for breakfast anymore. They're going to be for a wider range of mixed workloads. Customers are going to have the desire of, hey, since I can get this flash array for this price point, I want to put more on it. But what that's going to necessitate, is more advanced capabilities, such as multi-tiering, so that you have the right data for the right application on the right type of flash, at the right time, to be able to have the lowest latency, highest performance, minimized contention, all those sorts of things. So multi-tier will become more important in this environment. Because you do want to take advantage of multiple flash media types, because no one flash type will win out. We're always going to be in this environment where the technology is advancing fast, and so you're going to want to be able to take advantage of different media types. And then NVMe, from the standpoint of having the lowest latency, and take all of the bottlenecks and latency out of the software stack that exists today from a traditional controller design standpoint. And then if customers want to put more application workloads on that array, they're going to need some way to take and prioritize what applications are more important than others, because even in all flash arrays, you've got latency spikes and contention, and so you don't want to take and have applications that are more critical to the business, not getting the performance that they need, when they need it. So we see this, bifurcation of the all-flash market between what we call this commodity class and this premium, all-flash arrays. With the premium all-flash arrays, being able to deliver, higher degrees of consolidation for the customers, which they, want to do, versus the commodity all-flash arrays, will be targeted at a single or a couple of applications, and they'll isolate that storage environment.
We're definitely seeing a move down of even NVMe or other technologies into the commodity space as well. Mm-hmm. So the choices or the type of devices used, my customers really don't care. We used to hear vendors saying, "Oh, we just use SLC or eMLC," and consumers really didn't care back then. They don't care today, mm-hmm. as long as if it gives their workload what they need, right, and the support covers any possible issues. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of thought in the end user space about the type of AFA they're getting. Mm-hmm. So I never bring that point up, and when a vendor does, it's a little bit scary because they're trying to poke fun at someone else. Mm.
Yeah, no vendor ever uses the term commodity AFA unless they're talking about a competitor.
Well, that's why this is kind of that NexGen's view of the marketplace. So yeah, you're right.
And I reject AFAs as a market in a market category, mm-hmm. themselves. That they're arrays, and then you decide what level of performance you have. And the way you guys are breaking those categories up, there are some systems that I would definitely put at the top of my desirability list, especially as we get larger, that don't use NVMe. And so, you can't, you're saying, well, they're commodity. It's like, yeah, no. Your neighbors down the road don't make a commodity system. They make a very high performance system that scales way bigger than anybody else in the AFA business. But by your standards, you're calling them commodity. So, doesn't fly with me.
Well, and not everybody is in this category, right? Only ones who are selling the value proposition is around cheap inexpensive flash, and there's not advanced software around it. We'd put them in that category. Others who would have more management around it.
But that market's dying. If you're talking about 3-par and compellent, it's like, yeah, they don't have a whole mess of QoS, but they've got a lot of maturity in the rest of the stack. That comes, the things they did right on disks, they're still doing. So I reject the categorization, the being two categories. There's different horses for different courses.
I think that's part of our observation too. Is let's regardless if we call it commodity or less expensive or less feature rich, there'll be applicability for those for very specific targeted workloads. But for customers who want to take and consolidate more of a broad range of workloads on the array, they're going to want something that is more feature rich on the right. And I think it's going to be our other thought is that it's going to be tougher for new entrants to survive that come in and try to play at a low price point.
The level of table stakes has certainly shifted upwards.
Yes.
Astute Networks product wouldn't even make it out of the factory today. Right. A single controller, no snapshots, no replication, just fast. That's not good enough anymore. We've moved from an array that is all flash still has to be a good array. But but I don't. You're shaving things too fine for me.
Okay. I think what we do agree on is in order to survive, flash arrays are going to have what we'd call how I think what you refer to is you've got these table stakes features, plus you're going to need premium features, to be able to satisfy customers' requirements, going forward.